think the best thing for people in Hollywood that are entrenched in that world is to shut the fuck up. Because as soon as they start talking, people as soon as Robert De Niro starts talking, I'm like, Jesus, get that fucking microphone away from him so I can enjoy Taxi Driver.
Robert De Niro has gone so hard partisan over the past 8 years. He is like example number one of Trump derangement syndrome. He's one of those, I'm moving to Canada if he wins, and he's never going to leave the White House if he wins. We're going to have Trump forevermore. I mean, hello, I hate to break it to you because I realize you're advanced age too, Robert, but people die. So he will leave. One way or the other, he's going to go.
Robert De Niro thought he was stepping into a calm, controlled conversation. But he didn't see the firestorm coming. Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly didn't bring words. They brought flamethrowers. 1 minute, De Niro was shouting like he was delivering a furious award speech. And the next, he was getting folded on live TV like a hotel towel in a 5-star scandal suite. Rogan hit him with a comment so cutting, Megyn Kelly nearly fell out of her chair laughing, gripping the arms like she was watching a Hollywood disaster unravel in front of her eyes. And De Niro? He looked stunned, like a man who just realized Uber doesn't bring comebacks, especially not to the smoking ruins of his own public collapse. This wasn't just a disagreement, it was a full-blown takedown. You've never seen a Hollywood icon roasted like this before.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I don't want to hear. I love De Niro. I love those mob movies. It's like
I don't want to hear him that he's a moron. I don't want to hear him talking about politics and about Trump supporters, and just shut the fuck up, man.
If Robert De Niro earned $1 every time he launched into a political meltdown like a method actor stuck in a never-ending scene, he'd have enough cash to buy a private island where no one even whispers the name Trump. But instead of escaping to peace and palm trees, he chose chaos and noise. He's spent years raging on award show stages, fists slicing the air, shouting at shadows like he mistook the teleprompter for a boxing opponent. It was pure drama. Loud, wild, and impossible to ignore.
Yeah. Like, you didn't think this through. Like, this is, and he's getting yelled at. He's doing an outside press conference. Like, Robert, you're 80 years old. Don't ruin this thing. You've had this life where you were a fucking raging bull. You know, you were in The Godfather. Like, stop doing this. Man. Don't do this.
I'm terrified to meet some of those people I looked up to now.
You should be.
I mean, like
I've met a few of them, and it's actors in particular, because their whole business is pretend. Their whole business is pretend.
Just when it seemed like no one could endure another fiery outburst from a man famous for pretending to be a mobster, two media giants crashed the scene, uninvited and completely ruthless. First came the podcast titan himself, Joe Rogan, who walked into the chaos like he'd stumbled onto a poorly written political drama, and then shredded the script with a verbal sledgehammer. No build-up, no mercy. Just a brutal hit of truth delivered with chilling accuracy and a smirk that screamed, "This isn't performance, it's pure delusion."
To the people shouting him down like, your movies suck. That's not true.
No, his movies are very good.
Suck. He's one of the greatest actors. I mean, he's the heir apparent to Brando, blah, blah, blah. But he's a loon.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to just say what he is. He's, he has, basically, I describe this to people. You know what's happening now? Because people are aware about concussions and the problems with CTE. When you get hit and you get a dinger in football, they put you in the blue tent, in the sideline.
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen to Democrats. They need to go in the blue tent for a little bit, kind of, get your eyes checked, and then come out and be rational again.
Yeah, cool off
and
a
De
little.
Niro needs to go in the blue tent. I mean, because it's not calming things down. We need to be rational.
While De Niro was falling apart like a one-man Shakespearean tragedy in front of golden trophies and half-asleep celebrities, Joe Rogan was comfortably seated in his podcast stronghold, calm, sharp, and ready to strike. He didn't even have to drop names. Oh no. But the way he described his target? It fit so perfectly. It was like a custom-made shoe crafted by an angry Italian cobbler with a score to settle and a flair for drama. Every word hit like a grenade, precise, bold, and unforgettable.
Oh, Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Now, Kurt's convinced that Robert De Niro's on some kind of Epstein list or some kind of thing like that, and then he's afraid that if Trump does get power, he's going to expose him, and he is actually going to come at him.
Of course Kurt thinks that.
That's what Kurt thinks that.
Kurt thinks that about every fucking thing that happens in the world.
I think Robert De Niro's just got Trump derangement syndrome.
I think he's old, too. There's a thing about old men.
And
they want to yell at everybody.
And he's completely... Did you see when he went and gave that speech outside of the trial? That was bizarre.
Who told him that was a good idea?
And then he started...
Joe Rogan didn't even have to say Robert De Niro's name. He simply sketched the perfect image of a certain kind of actor. The kind who thinks pretending to be a tough guy in movies somehow qualifies him to speak on global affairs. Rogan pointed out that there's a whole category of celebrities who believe that just because they've delivered passionate lines about honor and justice on screen, they're suddenly experts in foreign policy. You play veto for 3 decades, and now you think you can lecture America on democracy? That's like a barista claiming they can launch rockets because they stir lattes with flair. With his signature style, laid back, half grinning, and cool as ever, Rogan didn't scream or shout. He calmly tore apart the Hollywood fantasy with deadly accuracy. It wasn't a tantrum, it was a demolition. He mocked the inflated egos of stars who confuse fame with facts, who think a SAGI card is a license to comment on wars and diplomacy like seasoned diplomats. This wasn't just political anymore, it was personal. It was about unchecked ego, inflated pride, and misplaced authority. And beneath Rogan's amused tone, he dropped a brutal truth bomb. Quiet, sharp, and devastating. He never said De Niro's name, but it didn't matter. De Niro was the unspoken star of the Takedown, the walking example of how a once-celebrated actor can fall from greatness into grievance without even noticing.
So Robert De Niro, who's got a severe case of the TDS, is in conference right now, as all of the muckety-mucks are. And he's very unhappy about what Trump is doing to try to keep filmmaking, American filmmaking, in America by slapping tariffs on foreign-made films so that he can basically try to force people to make them domestically again for the American audience that they're meant to serve. And here's what De Niro said on Tuesday.
America's Philistine president has had himself appointed head of one of our premier cultural institutions.
Then came Megyn Kelly. If Rogan was the calm assassin with a sly grin, Kelly was a thunderstorm armed with facts and fury. While Joe chuckled at the madness, she stepped in like someone who'd been gathering evidence for years, flipping through her mental files with the joy of an IRS agent in the middle of tax season. She never said De Niro's name, but come on, when someone mentions a Hollywood loudmouth who thinks the Oscars are Capitol Hill, there's only one face that pops into every head. Kelly didn't giggle her way through it. She came to slice through the nonsense with sharp precision. Her words weren't scattered. They were laser-focused and full of fed-up fire. Like a surgeon with a scalpel, she cut deep into the illusion of actors preaching politics from golden podiums while living worlds apart from the impact of their words. She didn't bother mocking movies. She attacked the twisted belief that acting noble on screen somehow qualifies you to steer national policy. She drilled right into the harsh truth. So many of these stars want the power of political influence, but none of the responsibility. They treat award shows like campaign rallies. Without the effort, without the knowledge, without the debate, their applause isn't for ideas. It's for headlines, Wikipedia clout, and grainy snapshots from Cannes. To Kelly, this wasn't just cringe. It was dangerous, because when these Hollywood celebrities crown themselves moral leaders in rooms filled with flattery and no opposition, the only people left to question them are the waiters. And even they stay silent out of sheer professionalism.
And then he starts yelling at regular people. He's like, fuck you, you're a gangster. Go fuck you. Like,
it's crazy that that's the guy from Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
You know what also I think those guys have no friends. I think the only friends they have are Hollywood phonies. And so you're in this weird world where everybody you talk to is a phony, and you become a phony, and everyone's a phony, and your grasp on reality is very slippery, and your eyes are going, right? Mm-hmm. So your vision of the world, your actual vision of the world, your ability to read a phone. You ever see old people's text messages? The fucking text on their phone is like as big as my hand.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And so your vision of the world is blurring, literally and figuratively, and then you're getting old, and when old people are tired and cranky, they just want everyone to listen to them, and they don't have time to have a calm conversation. And you state out your opinion, I'll state my opinion. Let's see where we have common ground. Get off my lawn!
It's a never-ending loop of sparkling nonsense. A glitzy Groundhog Day where the same tired speeches bounce off the same smug faces, all met with the same empty applause. But Megyn Kelly wasn't about to let this golden circus prance by untouched. She tore into the hypocrisy and yanked the velvet curtain wide open. What she exposed? Actors living behind iron gates, protected by bodyguards, claiming they speak for everyday people. These are the same stars who preach about justice from podiums shaped like Oscars, then disappear into cars that cost more than most folks will ever earn. And Kelly didn't hold back. Her words sliced through the fake glamour with one clear message. authenticity matters. People are sick of being scolded by millionaires who've spent a decade in makeup chairs being told they're geniuses for remembering their lines. At some point, the costume comes off, the lights dim, and all that's left is a man who once played a boxer, now wildly swinging at invisible political foes like he's still trapped in a movie scene. And the most stunning part of this takedown? It wasn't a planned ambush. Rogan and Kelly weren't in cahoots. They didn't have to be. One's a former MMA announcer turned podcast king who probably thinks kale is a federal prank. The other's a sharp-witted media lawyer who can slice through nonsense faster than most people can blink. Their approaches are wildly different. Style, tone, even background. But when the ridiculous is this loud, you don't need a game plan to expose it. All it takes is a clear view and a working microphone. Rogan cracks the facade with a smirk. Kelly crushes the core with clean, cold logic. And without ever sharing a stage, they delivered the kind of public reckoning no golden trophy can protect against.
Make of that.
Well, it's a global problem because it's the greediness of these studios and some of these actors that, make a lot more money overseas than they would here. But I look at the film industry in the United States, and my father worked in the film industry in Boston. He was a transportation coordinator for the Teamsters Union. So I know a little bit about it. I look at the film industry as we have some of the most creative people in the world.
Joe Rogan finds it hilarious. Actors strutting around like Shakespeare in designer sunglasses, acting like every word they say is scripture. But for Megyn Kelly, it's not funny. It's horrifying. Their styles are worlds apart, but their message cuts the same way. Robert De Niro has morphed from respected figure to a tuxedo-clad punchline. And the wildest part? He doesn't even know it's happened. That's the brilliance behind these sharp, indirect roasts. They're not meant to start a screaming match. They're crafted to reveal the absurdity so clearly that any attempt to clap back would just dig the hole deeper. Rogan didn't need De Niro to phone in and explain himself. Kelly didn't need to invite him on for a fair rebuttal. They both laid out the facts like two prosecutors who just happened to land at the same ridiculous crime scene and roasted the evidence without blinking. De Niro's once respected aura has now faded into parody, and the joke's playing out like a sketch comedy bit that he doesn't realize he's starring in. What makes it even more brutal? These takedowns came separately, from different angles, with no coordination. And yet both hit the exact same mark with chilling ease. At this point, De Niro has become the celebrity version of someone yelling at pigeons in Central Park. Loud, dramatic, and absolutely convinced he's still enlightening the world with truth. Meanwhile, Rogan's fans are howling over his savage impressions of Hollywood's self-appointed prophets. And Kelly's audience is nodding in agreement as she slices through the delusion of millionaires pretending to be revolutionaries in black suits. And the final dagger? The cold, unshakable truth both sides leave behind. Just because you starred in Raging Bull doesn't mean you're ready to lead the next one.
Why is he talking about this? Why is he talking about this publicly?
I'm going to say one thing. Trump.
If you're going to come out and say that you have a really deep-seated hatred for one of the two people running for president, you can't just be, he's a bully, he's a piece of shit, I hate him.
He's an idiot. Colin Powell said it best. He's a national disaster. He's an embarrassment to this country. It makes me so angry that this country has gotten to this point, that this fool, this bozo, has wound up where he has.
You probably, if you're going to express yourself about it and alienate 50% of the country, which it seems like it is, you're going to have to do better than that.
There's a wild and almost hilarious irony in watching a man who built his legacy playing gritty, no-nonsense legends now floating so far above reality, he looks completely lost. Robert De Niro, the actor who once delivered tough guy lines with chilling precision, now comes off like he's rage-scrolling Twitter in all caps, mistaking angry posts for political brilliance. It's like watching a five-star chef slap a slice of plastic cheese on filet mignon and call it fine dining. And if there's one quiet truth that both Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly seem to agree on, despite their very different worlds, it's this. The public deserves way better than a tuxedo-clad tantrum dressed up as deep thought. It's painful, almost tragic, to watch someone with that much fame, that much reach, throw it all away on over-the-top outrage, believing they're making a difference, when in reality, they're just giving people a reason to change the channel. The real voices that shift the world don't scream from golden stages like it's amateur night at a political comedy club. They don't yell into empty space and call the echo applause. True impact comes from real thought, not just volume. And lately, De Niro's speeches feel less like wisdom and more like your loud uncle finally got Wi-Fi and decided the world needed his every thought. Shouted, not shared. It's the media crossover no one saw coming. Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly, two people who might not even agree on pizza toppings, somehow ending up perfectly aligned. Like two satellites orbiting one fading flaming star, Robert De Niro.
What about the garbage outside today? Robert De Niro, officially sent by the Biden campaign, makes himself look like an idiot and reminds us why Trump is so popular.
It's so stupid. It was colossally stupid. If you're going to send somebody to go speak outside of the Trump trial, make it someone who's universally beloved, like a Michelle Obama. You know, she's not universally loved. She's not loved on the right. But I'm saying, like, at least within the left and the center left, and maybe even some center righties. Robert De Niro has gone so hard partisan over the past 8 years. He is like example number one of Trump derangement syndrome.
On one side, there's Joe Rogan, the hoodie-wearing, cage-fighting thinker sipping mushroom tea while pulling apart the chaos of celebrity activism. It's his latest favorite theory. On the other side stands Megyn Kelly, the sharp-tongued media sniper in heels, slicing through Hollywood's nonsense with the precision of a surgeon who never forgets and never forgives. They're total opposites in every way: style, tone, even music tastes. But somehow, they ended up spiritually high-fiving over the smoking wreckage of Robert De Niro's public image. And it's not just funny, it's downright poetic. This is like cats and dogs joining a jazz band, all in sync for one reason: to roast the neighborhood rooster that won't stop squawking politics. Rogan's attack comes with relaxed sarcasm, part stoner, part skeptic, part, can anyone else believe this guy? Meanwhile, Kelly's commentary hits like a courtroom gavel, confident, fierce, and polished by years of spotting frauds, fishing for applause with empty virtue. They never teamed up. They didn't rehearse. They didn't even share a room. Yet somehow, both watched De Niro unravel from a film legend into a walking, talking Twitter thread. And without even trying, they struck the same perfect chord of cultural truth. What made this double roast hit so hard wasn't just the jokes or the delivery. It was the deeper truth humming beneath the fire. The message was crystal clear. The public deserves honesty, not theater. Sincerity, not spotlight addiction. And in that searing moment, as De Niro's illusion burned away, Rogan and Kelly weren't just roasting, they were reclaiming the mic.
Robert De Niro, there's something about being a star where you think your opinion's more important than anybody else's, and you can go give a press conference, and he obviously has been very vocal from 2016 that he hates Trump for whatever reason. Maybe they have some personal thing.
You think Trump ever threw a punch himself or took one? This guy who ran and hid in the White House bunker when there were protesters outside? No way.
Now he's like holding press conferences. Now everyone's heckling him everywhere he goes.
That's so bad.
Like instead of just being this cranky old liberal, now you're this guy that is yelling at other people that are Trump supporters, and they're yelling at you. Like you've opened yourself up to this nonsense. Like, why?
This wasn't just Robert De Niro yelling into microphones like he's auditioning for Old Man Yells at Cloud the musical. No, this was something far bigger, louder, and flashier. It was a full-blown expose of celebrity culture gone wild. For years, we've watched actors grab microphones like preachers, as if their IMDb credits somehow gave them the right to speak like world leaders. As if pretending to be a war hero or courtroom legend meant they suddenly knew how to run a nation. Sorry, Bobby. Just because you played Vito Corleone doesn't mean you get to rewrite foreign policy. And when you stomp across a stage, veins bulging, shouting about political enemies like you're chasing a raccoon out of your kitchen, it's not the inspiring moment you think it is. This wasn't just a roast from Rogan and Kelly. It was a full-blown cultural eye roll, a brutal wake-up call that the world has stopped pretending the guy from Raging Bull holds the answers to America's deepest problems. People are tired. Tired of lectures from millionaires who fly private, vacation globally, and think tweeting a hashtag is activism. The truth? Most people would rather get wisdom from their local barber than sit through another gold-plated sermon from someone who thinks flying coach once makes them relatable. And the best part? Rogan and Kelly didn't scream. They didn't rage. They didn't toss fire emojis. They simply held up a mirror. And what reflected back wasn't a national icon. It was a man slowly realizing that a spotlight isn't the same as respect. And applause doesn't always mean agreement. While De Niro fumed in slow motion, Rogan and Kelly quietly burned down the illusion with style. He's no longer a guiding voice, no longer a source of insight. He's become the angry uncle everyone mutes during Thanksgiving dinner. And that's the real sting. He wasn't defeated by outrage. He was drowned by irrelevance. Not because people hated him, but because they stopped listening. They watched it happen, saw him shift from icon to cautionary tale, from a powerful voice to an echo, from a respected actor to a warning sign. Rogan saw the show and laughed. Kelly saw it too, and fired off a flawless takedown. And De Niro. He's still backstage practicing for a scene nobody asked for, in a play that ended before he even stepped out. The audience? Already gone. The few still watching? They're not expecting wisdom. They're just here for the comedy. And if there's one hard lesson buried in this fiery unraveling, it's this. If you want to be respected, don't treat your Oscar speech like a Senate hearing. And if two completely different voices in media roast you in sync, it's probably time to rethink your role. Because in the end, the real performance wasn't on screen. It was here, live on air, where a Hollywood legend became the unexpected star of a roast no one needed to write. Because he wrote it all by himself, and what a show it turned out to be.